Hey, it's Lisa Haggis with a new addition to my brand expression interview series. This time we're talking about creating copy that resonates with writer Adrianne Munkacsy. Whether you want to be a better writer or you want to know how to work with one, this interview is going to help you have more impact with every single word. Can we start by you telling me 3 words that describe your brand?
Yes. So a little bird told me you'd be asking this question. And I've been thinking about it. And I got to tell you, I came up with 2 that I'm totally sure of.
Okay.
Genuine, quiet, which could be taken in a maybe not so good connotation, but I like the positive parts of it.
Okay.
And my 3rd word I'm a little stuck on. I think down to earth might be the one that feels the most right to me. But I'm not sure.
Interesting. Okay, let's try something else. Describe your writing style.
My writing style is real, clear, and genuine.
Okay. I want to hear a little bit more about what you said about quiet. Why do you think there's some negative connotations around it, and why do you still use it even though you feel that way?
I've noticed this trend with copywriters where it seems to be the louder you are or the more sarcastic you are, the more buzz you get, especially in the entrepreneur community. If you come from that point of view, being quiet, especially in marketing, has a negative connotation because quiet tends to make people think that no one's going to find you.
Right.
Like wallflower almost.
Yeah.
But I've kind of throughout my life have been told I have a quiet confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I attract people with that same type of disposition.
Yes.
Where they're definitely a little quieter, but they're so intelligent and they have this wit that might only come out around people they're really comfortable with or that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to just embrace that and provide that option for people that don't want to have all this, the cursing and all this stuff that's seems like it's going to get you noticed,
mm-hmm.
but it doesn't really feel natural to a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a trend. And when something gets so trendy, people will adopt it whether it suits them or not, which is, I think, the issue. But I like that you're providing people an alternative.
And I like the idea, too. There's that quote, I forget who said it, but the one that's like, in a gentle way, you can shake the world.
Mm.
And I remember when I first read that quote that it just brought me this sense of peace that I don't have to go against my natural tendencies to have an effect.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this is part of your message, like that you're bringing out into the world. Should people be writing for themselves? Is that a viable option? What do you think about their role as a writer?
So I highly encourage people to get comfortable with writing, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur or own your own business, and especially if it's an online business. Because the amount of writing that you're doing is pretty surprising. The more comfortable you can get with writing in general, the better it will be for your business. Mm-hmm. And from my point of view, writing is what gets you clearer. Like when you write about your business and have that interaction with your clients in writing, you're learning your business basically from the inside out. Like what you might think that this is your message, but when you start sending things out there to the world, it might come out in a different way than what you've had in your head. I highly encourage DIY with the caution of if you have someone who is an expert at this sort of thing and you can bounce things off of, that's ideal.
Yeah, I can definitely echo that because objectivity is, it's a really underappreciated, I think, resource. And no matter how well you know yourself, no matter how great of a writer you are, no matter how many times you've written a blog post or an email, you have blind spots when it comes to yourself and your own writing. And sometimes you have hang-ups too, right? I know one of the things that I can't do is brag in my writing.
Right.
And I don't ever want my writing to come across that way, but I can certainly use the nudge of somebody to just give me that little bit of permission, to make my writing just a little more compelling. I think that everybody needs a second set of eyes, which I know is the name of one of your offerings, which is perfect, in order to do their best. But let's talk about people who don't like to write, because I do get that question a lot, like especially from people who are really visual, like they're designers. There's tons of designers that write beautifully, but there's, some that's just so not their thing. What do you suggest for them?
I think there's two different categories of people. I think there's people who genuinely don't like to write. And for those people, I recommend finding a different way of communicating if you can. And it can be, if you are visual, it can be visual. It can be, I've seen some things on Pinterest recently where a designer's blog post is just this really beautiful typographic image that has a question or a statement or something to think about. And then people just comment on it. So it'll be like, what's your favorite business tool to keep you productive? And it's this really beautiful image. And then people just comment what their favorite business tool is. And that serves as their blog post for that week or whatever. And I like that too, because it encourages engagement, which is something I'm really passionate about. I really want to have this interaction with community. So I like that option. Mm-hmm. And video is another one. And especially if you're good with that sort of thing, even your emails can be videos. I just did a program where you can just send an email and ask somebody something and just use a video instead of typing it all out or something. Keep it short if you do that. But I like that too, because I have some clients who are so engaging and their voices are actually very potent, like as soon as you hear them, you feel safe. And these women all kind of have this certain vibe that I'm thinking of, and very super confident and calm. And I encourage them all the time, like, I want to hear you more and see you more, because that's like your secret weapon. So writing might not be everyone's secret weapon. So that's one category of people who really that's not their cup of tea. Mm-hmm. The other category is people who think they aren't good writers, and so they shy away from writing or tell themselves they're not good. And what I find is anytime someone tells me that and they're like, I'm really nervous to show you this, I just don't feel that good about it, and when they send it to me, 99% of the time, they are totally on the right track. They tell really great stories or have really amazing nuggets in there that'll connect to somebody. And it just needs to be polished up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And for those people, it's more like, just get out of your own way and don't listen to that voice in your head that's telling you whatever it's telling you. This needs to sound like this. It's too long, it's too impersonal, it's too personal. Like, there's all these standards that everyone's trying to live up to, but I don't know who created these standards. Mm-hmm. And so for people who just feel like maybe they're not the best writer, I say toss that out the window. Everybody's a writer.
Mm-hmm. And when you were talking about the idea of like, the designer sharing just a question or talking through video, I think that it's really interesting to realize that we're not really talking about writing. We're just talking about communicating, right? We're just talking about sharing your thoughts through communication. And I think like the rigid term of copywriting is intimidating people away from it. And they're maybe forgetting the point.
I love that because I feel like there's something in most of us, I think, who are trying to run our own businesses. You have something to say. That's kind of like why you're starting this, right? Mm-hmm. There's something in you that says, well, people need to know this, or I care about this, and you have something to say about it. And so I don't even really like being called a copywriter. I feel like I'm a writer at heart. Mm-hmm. And writers just tell the truth, and they say what they're kind of that longing. They say what they're longing to say. It's like, get it out there.
Mm-hmm. Are there any universal rules that really should never be broken? You're getting your message out into the world. What should you not do?
Don't lie. But I think the hype. I think that hype is a little sneaky, where you might not even overpromise, but there's like this feeling of like, when I'm communicating, I have to really drive home, like, your life is going to change because of this. Mm-hmm. A lot of these exercises that entrepreneurs do, where it's like, what are someone's pain points and what are their biggest dreams? Mm-hmm. And they like, their biggest dream is to have all this freedom and all this money and this huge list, like, that's their dream. And so they feel like they have to promise those things,
right,
to the people.
Yes.
And it's a lot. I think if you can subtly get across the like inner dreams of someone, mm-hmm. that's a lot more impactful.
The inner dreams, what do you mean by that?
There's an inner motivation behind why someone might want a big list or more money.
Okay.
So it's kind of like taking it beyond that, and I'm kind of just talking this out. I don't know what's going to come out.
Okay.
I have not ever thought this thought before.
Good. Oh, wow. So, this is exciting. This is an original thought.
Yes. So it's kind of like this expectation that everyone wants more money, more freedom, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes your client different from another client, if you're talking about an ideal client or something like that, is the reason behind what that money or freedom is going to do for them. So it's taking it a step beyond this general idea that we all want more money and we all want more time and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. I want more money and time for a totally different reason than what you might want more money and time for. And if I can connect to that in my communication, if I can connect to that part of you that you might not even necessarily share with a lot of people, mm-hmm. that creates the inspiration to hire me if you feel like I get that part of it.
So can we do an example or something?
Okay, so I recently wrote a blog about the language that people use and how you can connect to what they're naturally drawn to. So if we look at brands like O Magazine and Cosmo or something, O Magazine might have on their front of their magazine something like, I think this month it says something like, love the skin you're in, or something like that. Whereas Cosmo might be like, flatter abs in 6 days, look hot by summer, mm-hmm. right? So if we promise someone a better body, person A the Oprah person might say, I just want to feel really good and confident with the body that I have, or like make the most of the body that I have and really feel comfortable in my own skin. So that's the promise she's going to make, is mm-hmm. love the skin you're in.
Yeah.
Another person who wants a better body is going to say, I have a bikini I saw on Victoria's Secret and I have to fit in it by my honeymoon in 6 weeks or whatever. And so they might respond more to flatter abs in 5 days, look hot in 6 weeks. I'm
Yes.
tossing a bunch of timelines. So it's like not necessarily that you're promising the better body. It's that other part of it that you want to get across in your communication. It's the language that you're using, the reason they want a better body, how do they really want to feel. All that stuff is what your focus should be, not this overhyped thing of love your body.
Yeah. So it's talking about the motivation behind the promise. And that really, like, I think why that works is because of specificity, right?
Yes.
Because when I'm helping somebody try to differentiate, it's a complete fool's errand to try to carve out a space for yourself at that really high level of promise. Like, we're the best at helping you get a better body. Nobody's the best at helping you get a better body. But what you can be, because it's more specific, is you can become the best at helping somebody love their body. Or you could become the best at helping somebody, love their body in a bathing suit. Like, the more specific you get, the more it's bringing it down to ground level, right? It's feeling more doable, like from the perspective of your customer, your audience, but it's also more doable for you to actually deliver on that promise, like truly, fully, completely. So I think that's such an important message.
Yeah, and that's the number one thing I see on people's websites. The number one mistake is lack of specificity. If you can really start to paint that picture and be like more specific than you've ever thought you could be, that's when you are at that level that you're talking about, where you're not trying to compete for everybody under the sun. It's almost like you're a magnet for the people that feel exactly the way not the way you want them to feel. They're the best fit for the services you provide.
Yeah. Maybe what we can do now is talk a little bit more about getting to that natural voice.
So voice is so tricky because I write all the time. I know I have a gazillion different voices. And I have all different parts of my personality, right?
Yes.
So what I'm in this process, and I think that's what's so interesting about what you're doing, that you've taught me about brand, is it's almost like you're highlighting this one part of your voice, basically. And so I think what gets tricky for people is you feel even your handwriting itself is different on different days, there's this different way of expressing yourself all the time. So I'm learning this as I go, this voice idea, and really exploring it. And one exercise I have people do is to literally write an email to someone instead of writing like a sales page or something. And I tell them, like, seriously, get into your Gmail or whatever you're using and say, hey, Lisa, you're never going to believe this. Or if I were just like riffing, I'd be like, oh my God, Lisa, I forgot to tell you. I have this new thing coming up and I thought you'd be a great fit. And I would just write out this offer as if I were actually emailing it to you. And one thing that helps people do is, even if that's not necessarily going to be the voice of your brand, because a lot of times it might be a little too casual for some businesses. It helps you scrape away some of the expectations you have of, well, this is what a sales page should sound like, or this is what I should sound like when I write a website. It kind of helps you find that part of yourself that isn't trying so hard.
I like that. The idea of scraping away expectations. But how else do you think people can free themselves from these, the voices, like you said earlier, or like you just kind of get stuck in what you think you need to sound like? And even when you've kind of freed yourself up in one area, I think, like from email to blog posts to sales pages to recording a video, I think that you almost have to relearn it for every new medium. Which I say that because I find with video, like anytime I try to film a video where it's just me, my voice changes. And I'm like, where did that come from? And I'm like, it's totally this kind of built-in belief of what it sounds like when you're being videoed, Yes. So how do you free yourself from that stuff before getting down and creating?
All right. I think to free yourself, you have to have some really crappy stuff out there. So here's what I'm thinking, okay? It isn't until you take some action that this whole new wave of clarity comes, right? Mm-hmm. So you might sit in front of your video 3 different times and try to tape something 3 different times and then never publish it, let's say. And the next time you sit down, you'll probably still have the same frustrations. It isn't until it's actually out there and you've done it that it's like your brain and body is like, okay, now I'm ready to take the next step with this.
Yeah.
So the thing about getting comfortable in all these places is you have to be uncomfortable in all of these places. And, I'm uncomfortable most of the time, unfortunately. But through that, it becomes more comfortable. There's this whole thing is a process. And I think that is the main point that I want to get this message out in my own business, is that the process is the thing. Mm-hmm. Like finding your voice, like the finding that's all you're going to be doing forever.
Wow. I like that. I mean, I don't like that because it's going to frustrate a lot of people. But I think you're so right, because like truthfully, that's the same thing I say about your brand. Like there's really no decision around branding that is not going to evolve and get clearer and get more concrete over time. But you can't get to phase 2 of your brand until you've done phase 1. Because, and there's all kinds of reasons for it, like you need to learn how people are going to react to you. You need to learn which people are going to be drawn to you, and you need to get clearer on their needs, but you can't until you've attracted them. And so it's a journey that you have to drive with your map open and, change your directions as you're moving. I think you're so right. And also just the idea of breaking that barrier of the fear of failure, right? And I think that most of the time, the post that you kind of bomb, you're probably going to follow up with something really wonderful.
Also understanding that it's kind of like we have this idea that where we are today is where we're always going to be or something, but it's this constant evolution. Mm-hmm. And being okay with the evolution is part of the beauty of it all.
I like the thought of, you have to leave room for yourself to get better. And I think that when you're a perfectionist, it's like you're totally forgetting that that's an option, that's going to happen. Like you're thinking that what you're going to do right now is going to be the best thing you're ever going to do. And it's kind of freeing to think by, only being this good right now, then just think of how much room I have to go. And, yeah. Do your future self a favor.
Yeah.
By just doing what you can and getting there faster. I think that if you probably look at all of these brands out there that are known for having such distinctive voices, if you go back on their website 3 years ago, it's not the exact same voice you see today. They evolved, and you will too. And instead of sitting on the fence, you can just get in there and start playing. And what's kind of the determining factor on how well somebody's going to be able to get that awesome outcome that, obviously everybody wants first class results when they're hiring a writer. So what makes the difference?
For me, the biggest difference I've noticed is people who've actually worked with clients and have a pretty good idea of who their ideal client would be. Mm-hmm. When I start out with people who are brand new and they're creating a website for the first time or something and they're just starting their business, if they're truly starting from scratch and it all feels very theoretical, like I think I'll be a good fit for this type of person, or I really want to help people who are feeling like this, there's struggle there because they haven't had that direct contact with their clients. And so much knowledge comes from actually working with people. For those people who are starting from scratch, we do our best to use words and phrases and get their voice to a point where they feel at least comfortable and confident to launch their website. Mm-hmm. But the people who have the most success are those who have said, oh, I just got an email from someone the other day, and this is the phrase that they used, or I hear this question all the time, and they have a little bit of that background that we can start to draw on and really take a lot deeper into, okay, well, how did you respond to that question? And how did you feel when you responded in that way? And we start to dig into, what is your message to these people who are asking this or who are feeling this? I'm able to ask questions and kind of connect the dots, or help my clients connect the dots, where clarity comes so quickly for them, mm-hmm. and we can get a lot done in a really short amount of time.
Do you have any tips for those people who have no experience whatsoever? Should they not even bother having a website at first? Like, what do you think is the best course of action for them?
I think it depends, because I think some people, that website means something to them. It represents a very important step in their process. So if that's the case, I say we go for it with the knowledge that it won't take long for this to change, probably more drastically than they think it will. Mm-hmm. Also, for some people, having it out there, like I said, when you take that action, you get more clarity. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, I process by finagling. Like, I kind of have to see it in front of me, and then I say, okay, that's not quite right, so let's try this. And I liked having a website that I could just change every day if I wanted to. It was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. But for people who their first priority might be to make money or to just start getting clients in the door to learn and really hone in on what they're trying to do, I've seen people who don't have a website at all. They have like a splash page basically, and they offer services for free for quite a while and really start to hone in on who they like working with, the kind of services that feel best to them to offer. Mm-hmm. And if you have the means to do something for free for a while, I've read so many entrepreneurs who say never work for free, but I learned so much. I was lucky enough that I could do some stuff for either super cheap or free, and I learned so much from it, because you get kind of a wave of people who are happy to get services for free, and you mm-hmm. learn so much from it. So if you have that liberty, take it.
Mm-hmm. So do you have one tip, one thing that they can do right now on their website to improve their copy today?
So the biggest thing, and you probably think that you have this right already, but please go back and look at every page, your home page, about page, your offerings page, and really make sure you're making it clear how someone's going to benefit by working with you. So a lot of times I think everyone thinks it's super clear, this is how I help and this is what I do. But they might use language that's very jargon driven, and someone might walk away like, I'm still not really sure what you do. In the beginning with me, and I'm a copywriter, and I mean, it's a copywriter. I didn't even think it would be that confusing what I do. But people who would call me for a consultation would be like, I'm still not quite sure how you can help me. And I was like, I write your copy. I would be like, that's not clear. So go back and make sure, are you answering the question, how can I help you? Or how can you help me? Depending on who's asking. And if you can get that answer in a headline or a bold subhead or something where someone who's just scanning the page will get it, even better. If you have an opt-in offer, that's a good place to be super clear about how you help and what the benefits are to working with you.
That's it. I like that. I like that tip too. So your opt-in offer, this is actually like, this is kind of that covert messaging that you build into your website. If you want to tell somebody that you're, an expert in A or B, you don't say, I am an expert in A or B. You show them that what you blog on is A and B.
Yep.
And you show them that, your offerings are, and people, they do put this stuff together. And then, but what you're saying is you have to also clearly say A and B helps you this way.
Yep.
So that's really good. Great. Awesome tips. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lisa.